It is January 20th? Yeah. Um, and we are in the deep freeze right now. I just ran out to get the mail and grab the business mail. And yeah, I literally thought I froze my eyelids shut running out there. It, on Friday, it's Tuesday today. Um, and apparently, below the zero right now. And on Friday, 10 below zero is going to be the high. I don't know where you're tuning in from, Miami, Arizona, Puerto Rico. Yeah. Um, I don't want to be you. You live in a place like this, and this kind of weather builds character, right? Urgh. It's not for everybody, right? It's like the Nebraska slogan, that best slogan everywhere. Better slogan than any other state. Look it up. I'm not going to spoiler alert that, but Nebraska, eh, fill in the blank. Yeah, you'll giggle a little bit. But hey, my guess is you had a cabinet meeting last week. You probably had everybody showing up fresh off of the break. It was professional. It was engaging. It was very strategic. And somewhere around maybe Thursday last week, you just felt it, right? That quiet knowing that something is just fundamentally just, I don't know, it's just not working. It's not working like it used to. Maybe your best department chairs stopped volunteering for initiatives as they normally do. That faculty member who brought initiative ideas still shows up, but just a little quieter these days. And your most capable mid-level leaders, they're solving problems in silos now because it's just so much more efficient, isn't it? Right? Behind closed doors, I can just get more done. Yeah, and you're allowed, boss, to feel the loneliness of this right now. Every superintendent, every president that I work with carries this weight, and it's hard to describe, isn't it? Hard to put words to it. It's seeing your brilliant people, many of whom you have hired, right? They're around the table, um, but they're not responding collectively to what actually is happening. You're seeing it, but for some reason, it's not being caught. How do you describe that? What is that phenomena? Yeah, I've seen just in the loneliness where you look around and still feel profoundly alone because something just about how you are thinking together just it's just not working. And here's what breaks my heart: when your cabinet can't move from that conversation to coordinated action, who's paying the price? Students, right? Yeah, that's the low hanging fruit from this conversation here today. And it's unacceptable. They experience just fragmented support. They experience just contradictory guidance, right? Um, I hate, hate's a strong word. And yeah, heavy word these days. When I get my Uber rides to campus, usually from the hotel, oftentimes it's a young adult who was washed out from the campus that I'm going to and has stories about, I went there last semester, but I just didn't really feel connected. I didn't really have anybody pointing me in the right direction. Know that that's true, folks, and I hope that you have ways for figuring out what is going on in the system. Oftentimes, it's the instability of adults who just can't quite get aligned. And again, that's unacceptable. Um, so today is either a moment you name what's been gnawing at you. We're going to try to do that together, or you just guarantee another semester of well-intentioned meetings that don't quite translate into the change that your students deserve. So let's just buckle up. Let's talk about what's actually happening, and let's have a conversation. And feel free to use the chat, comment in there. Love to hear just how this is resonating with you. But you had a conversation about teacher retention. My guess is first semester, great conversation. Somebody took point, somebody took great notes. And 6 weeks later, nothing systematic is changing or has changed. The same overwhelmed teachers, faculty from November are still overwhelmed, right? And underwhelmed with the results of your actions. You discussed enrollment strategies, right? You brought the data, you brought in even more data from that other source. People got excited, right? And started leaning in. You even talked about hard decisions. Remember that meeting where you talked about hard decisions? Yeah, but when it came down to actually deciding which programs to sunset, that conversation stalled, didn't it? Yeah, our forecasts are really bold, but oftentimes our decision-making process is quite timid. What gives there? Just what gives there? It's usually, hey, we need more analysis, or let's bring together another council to discuss this. And meanwhile, your enrollment trends exactly. Remember that data where it said it was going to go? Yeah, that's where it's going. And should we talk AI? It's smart people with genuinely different perspectives, and somehow that diversity, which should be your greatest asset, it's just become paralysis. Nobody's budging, right? And mm, yeah, for another time, we're going to unpack that one. Underneath all of it, your best people aren't fighting for you; they're just kind of withdrawn. They're full engagement, and you can feel it, but it's just this dimmer switch, just a little bit each week, right? They haven't quit. They're just not being on collective action anymore, right? Activity is not the productivity that it used to be. In fact, the data says 44% of teachers report burning out at clinical levels. The number one most burned out profession in America, folks. Yeah, those teachers are in your building. Those faculty members are in your building right now. Or they're teaching online, right? 55% plan to leave earlier than intended. Okay. They're calling up the local retirement. Yeah. Finding that link again and going, all right, what do I need? Not resigning tomorrow, just quietly updating maybe their LinkedIn profile. Okay. Enrollment, high school graduation peaked in 2025. So what are we doing about it? It looks like a 7% decline by 2030. Okay. 2030, 7% more gonzo. AI, let's just talk. 72% of faculty already use some sort of chat, right? 91% of students are using it. Then they're not waiting for your policy debate. A president told me, this was in November, said, Joe, I've assembled the smartest people. I've hired the smartest individuals. I mean, that the resumes, yeah, phenomenal, flawless. Um, every person is brilliant. Every mind, individually, just exceptional. And somehow together, we can't move from identifying problems to solving them. Identifying problems is one thing. Solving those problems, it's a whole nother thing, right? I actually watched that cabinet for a day and a half. Stunning intellectual horsepower. But when academic affairs and student services both needed faculty time, that conversation just went in circles. Not because anyone was difficult. It was good humans, smart humans, hungry humans for change, because there was no infrastructure for navigating that, just the competing goods. How are we going to go about this? Okay. It's the difference between coordination and true collaboration. Right? Meanwhile, faculty, they're trying to support, working probably 49 hours a week, 10 more than their contracts because the cabinet couldn't coordinate to eliminate some of the systemic burdens that they were just like, how do I get through this? Right? It's not failure. This is the pattern in 73% of the nearly 1,000 leadership teams that we've studied. We hire panels every single year, and our State of Campus Culture report, it's rarely good news. It really is. Rarely. We promote people based upon individual excellence, but nobody really taught you how to build the infrastructure that helps brilliant individuals actually just think collectively, right? And there's such a loss when that's not happening. And it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. And it is fixable. That's the good news. We're not just coming with bad news today. So your cabinet isn't broken. You're experiencing a multiplication dynamic, right? Not division, not addition. This is a multiplication dynamic. You think about IQ, okay, times EQ times PQ, it equals TQ. You've heard me say this before. IQ is your individual, just smarts. Everybody's brilliant. Your skill set. It's usually about a 9 out of 10 if you're assessing it, right? That collective EQ, okay, it's that bedside manner to how you go about communicating, the initiatives across your system. Can your team navigate conflict in a meeting, or does disagreement feel unsafe? I'll be honest, for most cabinets, it's maybe a 3 or 4 out of 10 is how we're scoring in the world of EQ, right? And then there's this PQ thing. That's your perception intelligence. Can you read the room before it reads you, right? Good old self-awareness. Yeah. And that score is typically even worse than EQ when we measure it. So if you think about just 9 IQ, 4 EQ, and let's just say 2.5 PQ, giving it benefit of the doubt. That's 90. Okay, quick math. That's 90 out of 1,000 possible points. Your brilliant cabinet is operating at about 9% of potential collective effectiveness. So why is your retention conversation translated into no change? You have the IQ to analyze burnout. You don't have the collective EQ to navigate the trade-offs or the process intelligence for clear decision rights. That's just simply the way we make decisions around here. Rarely can a cabinet member answer that question directly without pulling out some big old document that means nothing, right? The research, I love this. Dr. Deborah, her last name is Gordon. I know she came from Stanford. She studied ant colonies for 30 years. Dream job, right? That's the job that I want. Studying ant colonies for 30 years, right? Don't you have to have one of those? Uh-huh. Ants succeed because they're just fascinating. Insects? Ants are, yeah, insects. They have these interaction protocols, just simple rules that turn one ant's discovery into colony level action, if only, right? And here's the thing, your cabinet members have, from the last I understand, 86 billion neurons. Okay. Just this beautiful makeup that we have as humans. Ants have roughly 250,000. Okay. You're 340,000 times smarter individually than the ant. Okay. But collectively, yeah, the ant factor. The ant factor. Yeah. Your cabinet often performs worse than the individual average because brilliant people, they're just performing monologues simultaneously. Isn't that the best way to describe really what's happening? Yeah, at the cabinet table with love and attention. right? But just the performing monologue simultaneously with no infrastructure for synthesis, that's the stuff that breaks my heart. You're working so hard, boss. You are working so hard. You've got high performing cabinets building three foundations. Foundation one um, is all about shared language for productive disagreement. That's what we really need to be building. It's the infrastructure for how conflict happens in meetings and where it goes to be resolved. Okay. If you don't have that, then you're not going to have conflict, and therefore you're not building trust across your cabinet. It's that simple. You must have, just like my car needs new windshield wipers. No, my car needs gas to go, right? You must have conflict in order for trust to evolve. The other big foundation, I think, in trends for the year. So you've got shared language and just productive disagreement are a must. You've got to have explicit decision rights, right? Who decides what when good people are disagreeing? What is our decision making process? Yeah. If I had a nickel for every time the president, the VPs, the superintendent, the assistant superintendents tell me it's complicated. It doesn't have to be that complicated. If it's too complicated, then your people don't know. How are decisions made around here, right? It can be put together. Yeah. Foundation three, you think about practice before crisis. Let's start building the muscle memory for navigating the tension before your whatever's most important to you drops. Graduation rates, academic achievement, enrollment, you name it. But let's build that muscle memory for navigating the tension before everything falls apart. Okay. That president that I mentioned, she stopped trying to solve three crises separately. That's the good old model is we take all three rhinos on. They're running at us all simultaneously. She just picked one of them. You. I'm going to take you on. And she started just building what we call team intelligence infrastructure. And in January, they didn't launch any new initiatives. Hallelujah. You could just hear the chorus, right? They started to build a foundation. Yeah. And first, they clarified decision rights. They just clarified this will be our decision making process moving forward, not in isolation. They did it together as an entire team. They built shared language for productive disagreement. They created coordinated protocols. It was a thing of beauty. Actually, it was pretty rudimentary, but it was a thing of beauty because it was actually getting done. Um, a few weeks later, I don't know how many, but a few weeks later, they did another analysis and cabinet eliminated one administrative burden completely. Don't remember which one it was, but they had just all their bowling balls, the things that we had to do that were weighty and just complicated, but they eliminated one of them completely where they said, you know what? I don't know. It's not urgent and it's really not that important. So adios, right? They reduced other real impactful things by about 60%. Faculty workload dropped 23% in the survey. They do a baseline and a benchmark survey throughout the year. The president told me that one faculty member commented, she said, for the first time in years, I feel like leadership actually changed something since systematically, not just moving furniture, like we often do. And that's, policy, budget, programs, that's moving furniture. Systematic stuff, that's changing the mental models. It's changing the relationships. It's changing the power dynamics within the system. Yeah. Enrollment decisions in 3 weeks that others are still forming committees to study. That's what it's like on the other end of it. AI pilots running in 4 departments, real data, weekly iteration. That's what it's like on the other side. Can you imagine? Yeah, it is possible. She told me we didn't hire different people. We just built the infrastructure that lets the brilliant people think together, and everything really changed. The cabinet shifted. It affected 50 mid-level leaders, probably 1,000 faculty members, pretty big institution, and about roughly 20,000 students. Mhm. They didn't have a winning football team though this year, unfortunately. How about that team? How about that red team that won last night? And that gritty little quarterback. Holy smokes. That kid's got grit. Anyways, um, yeah. Here's the thing: if you don't build the infrastructure first, your best people keep quietly disengaging. That's the reality. Your conversation about teacher support just it's not translating, and your enrollment strategy will keep getting analyzed without real decisions. You've been a part of that. Your highest capacity players sniff it out and go, "I'm not playing. I'm going to go back here, get my work done because I got a little side hustle because I'm really brilliant and I'm a NASCAR, you're a go-kart track. Yeah, let's get your stuff together." Right. But you go into just leadership. You did. You went into leadership because you believed in transformation. You saw transformation. Right now, your cabinet's infrastructure, it's really preventing you from delivering that thing that changed your life, perhaps your family tree. You can't seem to be doing that at scale at your institution. Okay, but imagine in April when your cabinet has built this infrastructure, because it is possible, right? It really is. Decisions that required 3 pre-meetings are actually done in the actual meeting. Your best people are, they're pre-engaging because the initiatives from February are still running in April with measurable impact. And you walk out feeling energized instead of drained. Yeah, it's possible. It is quite possible. You can keep just hoping that smarter people or more conversations are going to close that gap. But guess what? They haven't and they won't. Or you can build that infrastructure that makes the collective intelligence just systematic, boss. Yeah, I've seen it happen. And it's amazing when you can just, that culture of here's how we do things around here, it's irresistible. And it keeps some of your best people and certainly attracts more of the same. Yeah, the builders who they don't wait for just perfect conditions. That's the other thing. Well, we're not quite ready for this because we've got too much chaos. What? When won't you? Right? They create conditions for breakthrough in the chaos. Okay, they kind of control not what they can't control, but what they can influence. Right? The question isn't whether you can. The question is whether you'll start this week or is early next week better. Yeah, at your next cabinet meeting, I want you to ask this question. We'll bring this thing in for a close. On a scale of 1 to 10, okay? 1 to 10. Ask this question. Ask it straight up, just like this. How would you rate our ability? Okay? If you're sitting at the head of the table, here's your 10 cabinet members. How would you rate our ability to move from identifying problems to implementing solutions collectively? Have them write it down. Okay. Write it down privately. And then this is a prospecting opportunity, boss. How healthy is our team? Can we read them aloud? That in itself is an assessment. Can you read them aloud? If the answers vary by 3 or more points, you don't even share the same reality about collective performance, boss. But then move it up. Ask what would need to be true for us to feel safe disagreeing productively in this meeting. Again, probably your most important question of 2026. Yeah, that question will create guaranteed uncomfortable silence. Unless you've got some youngster, right, that you just hired that gets it, another prospecting opportunity. Who's going to break through that silence? Somebody's going to deflect. You know that. Someone will admit what everyone's been thinking. That second person, that's your ally in what comes next. Now, if you're thinking, Joe, hey, this makes sense, but how do I actually build this infrastructure systematically? I want to tell you something we spent nearly 2 years building. It's called the Team Institute, and it's on a QR code and probably over there someplace, right? It's called the Team Institute. It's 8 session sequential system that transforms 60% capacity, which is what we find across every campus, honestly, um, into multiplication engines. And it's so fun to see the transformation. This ain't moving furniture, folks. Here's what makes a difference. Most leadership development gives you frameworks to implement. We give you the operating system that makes frameworks actually work. If you have frameworks in a in a system that is unhealthy, it's not going to work. Right? These 8 monthly sessions, they're sequential development. You can't skip, for example, trust and go straight to empowerment, right? How often we do that. We just kind of race to some of the more advanced elements, but everything starts with trust, right? If you do that, that's abandonment. That's not leadership. And we build trust first, then empowerment, then collaboration, then the advanced capacities. We call them, the the capacities, right? It's your leadership capacity of influence, of change management, of conflict management, and ultimately the skill set competency of developing others. And we piloted this with almost 50 leadership teams, 47 to be exact. Um, yeah, we're seeing 3x performance improvement, about 29% higher engagement scores, and 27% better organizational outcomes. Better yet, we're seeing zero burnout despite performance multiplication. When's the last time you turned up performance without burning out your people? It's possible, boss. It really is. Dr. Jeff Horton, 2025 Dolly Superintendent of the Year, told us, we've hired experts who diagnosed brilliantly and implemented nothing. HPG built systems with us and trained our teams to sustain them and measured whether our cabinet actually functioned 6 months later. Okay. We're about solutions. We're not pundits that come in and deliver something and split. We're about seeing your performance manifest. So if you're ready to stop managing that 60% capacity and actually building a different infrastructure, just scan, there it is, someplace over there, right? Scan that QR code. It'll take you to a page where you can schedule a 30-minute consultation with me. And there's really no sales pitch. There's nothing to sell. I just want to share some good news, a genuine conversation about let's talk about your cabinet specific dynamics and which foundation might be the best one to start with first. And then we'll explore whether your team is ready for this developmental journey or if it's a not yet, right? The Team Institute is the right structural intervention for your leadership context. It is the right answer. The question is this the right time? Yeah. Don't wait for the chaos to subside, boss. Don't wait to, okay, I've got 8 new cabinet members to, no, you don't. You don't have that many. Okay. You get your core team and let's figure out how to really build their capacity. You're already funding 100% capacity, right? You're already paying in paychecks, right? The Team Institute actually helps you access it by removing the interference. The reality is you probably have $1 million cabinet. If you just add it up, $1 million, 60% of that, yeah, you might be leaving 400,000 on the table. You don't have you don't have a budget to just squander that amount of do re mi. How about that? I had this laying around from a session I had earlier. How timely. Yeah. This is an investment to protect really your most important investment. So drop a comment. Tell me, what foundation does your cabinet need most? Is it IQ, skills? Is it EQ, affect, tools? Is it PQ, just good old self-awareness? It's over there someplace. Click that. Let's have a conversation. Um, hey, next week I want to talk about just your cabinet having succession energy, right? It's everybody's fighting over Logan's chair over there, right? I want that office. Why some leadership teams operate like the Roy family, just brilliant individuals unconsciously optimizing for personal survival, maybe instead of just collective success. And how one superintendent going to call one up, not out, up, right? Completely transformed that dynamic. Look, it's cold. It's cold here. It's late January. 20th means late January. You're heading into another cabinet meeting probably this week. And part of you is bracing for the pattern not to repeat. Please, not to repeat. Yeah, that awareness you're feeling, that knowing that something needs to shift, it's not failure. It actually is wisdom. And I want to applaud your own ability to just call it what it is, right? The leaders who transform their cabinets aren't the ones with better strategic plans. It's never that, or smarter people. They're actually the ones that finally trust what they're experiencing and build the infrastructure their mission requires. So the students, look out that window right now. Those students out there, they deserve. hmm they deserve. Can we say equity lens? Well, I don't know if I can say that. Yeah, they deserve your cabinet who can think together about their needs, right? Your faculty, they deserve a cabinet that really can coordinate to reduce their burdens. Yeah. And you deserve really to just stop carrying every decision alone, boss. Scan that code. Let's talk about building different. I'm Dr. Joe. Let's build like a champ today, huh?